Have you ever wondered what goes on inside the mind of a dismissive avoidant when they go through the no-contact phase? Do they regret it? Do they miss you? Or are they completely indifferent? In this video, we will explore the complex psychological stages that a dismissive avoidant experiences during the no-contact phase. We will delve into their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, helping you gain a deeper understanding of this attachment style and how to navigate interactions with them. This is a fascinating and valuable topic, especially for those who have been or are currently in relationships with dismissive avoidant individuals. So, don't miss this video. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to stay updated with more insightful content. And now, when a dismissive avoidant enters the no-contact phase after a breakup, they typically exhibit very distinct psychological reactions. Immediately, they tend to cut off all communication, sometimes even disappearing completely from their ex's life. In rare cases, they might send a single message, only to quickly withdraw again. The main reason for this is their desire to avoid all emotions related to the breakup. They use this time to convince themselves that ending the relationship was the right decision. This is why they appear cold and resolute when, in reality, this is just their way of protecting themselves from emotional pain. Many people struggle to understand this reaction because dismissive avoidants seem unaffected, neither sad nor longing. But the truth is, they are simply rationalizing everything to suppress their emotions. And this marks the first stage of their no-contact process. During the no-contact phase, a dismissive avoidant typically experiences only one dominant state, avoidance. Right after the breakup, they instinctively cut off all contact and try to erase any traces of you from their life. This is not because they don't care, but because facing emotions makes them uncomfortable. They would rather immerse themselves in work, personal hobbies, or spend time with friends and family than dwell on the breakup. If you are looking for signs that they miss you, be cautious, because they won't show it in the way you expect. Unlike those with an anxious attachment style, dismissive avoidants do not seek immediate comfort after a breakup. They may appear happy, indifferent, or even as if they are enjoying life more than ever. But in reality, this is just their defense mechanism. They do not want to face the pain, so they do everything they can to temporarily push their emotions aside. The most important thing when implementing the no-contest rule with an avoidant is patience. Imagine them as a hibernating bear. If you try to wake it too soon, not only will it refuse to come out, but it will retreat even deeper into its cave. Similarly, if you break the no-contact rule, even with just a single message or call, you are not pulling them closer, but unintentionally pushing them further away. In fact, when you reach out too soon, the avoidant will only reinforce their belief that breaking up was the right decision. They will feel pressured, uncomfortable, and will want to distance themselves even more. That is why many people who attempt to text, call, or even meet in person receive an icy, even cruel reaction. They do not do this out of hatred, but because they feel cornered and want to escape. After the no-contact rule ends, typically lasting between 30 and 45 days, sometimes longer, the dismissive avoidant will still maintain distance. However, this does not mean they have not experienced emotional shifts. In reality, they go through 5 main stages, each with its own distinct psychological reactions. Stage 1. Disappearing without a trace. Immediately after a breakup, a dismissive avoidant typically reacts instinctively. They disappear. They might delete messages, block you on social media, or simply ignore any attempts you make to reach out. For them, maintaining distance is essential to protecting themselves from emotional discomfort. In their mind, this is the best way to confirm that breaking up was the right decision. They convince themselves that the relationship has ended and rationalize the reasons for leaving. To avoid thinking about you, they will throw themselves into work, exercise, explore new hobbies, or spend more time with family and friends. In some cases, they may enter a new relationship shortly afterward, but do not be quick to assume they have forgotten you. This new connection is merely a way to fill the void and reinforce their belief that they are fine. In reality, they have not yet processed their emotions. They are simply finding ways to escape them. Stage 2. Emotions begin to surface but are denied. After about 6 to 8 weeks, the defensive walls they have built start to show cracks. Memories of you begin to surface in their mind, whether they like it or not. A familiar song, a place you once visited together, or even a fleeting moment of solitude during the day can suddenly remind them of you. But instead of facing these emotions, they react in the way they know best, by continuing to suppress them. They may feel a sense of emptiness, but they quickly push it aside by immersing themselves in other activities. In their mind, dwelling too much on the past relationship could threaten the control they are desperately trying to maintain. As a result, they continue to keep their distance, and they may even become colder if you attempt to reach out. It is not because they do not care, but because they are not yet ready to acknowledge what is happening inside them. At this stage, any effort from you could be perceived as pressure, making them withdraw even more. But the irony is that, despite denying their emotions, thoughts of you continue to surface more frequently. They are just doing everything they can to avoid admitting it. Stage 3. Struggling between forgetting and nostalgia. This is the stage where their emotions become the most conflicted and unpredictable. On one hand, they believe they have moved on from the past, but on the other hand, memories of you unexpectedly creep into their mind. There are moments when they feel empty and wonder what you are doing, but soon after, they brush it off and tell themselves that the past no longer matters. This internal conflict leads to unconscious actions. They might check your social media without interacting, listen to a song associated with you, or even dream about you. However, instead of allowing themselves to confront these emotions, they distract themselves by immersing in work, social interactions, or personal hobbies. This cycle can last for quite some time because dismissive avoidants do not easily acknowledge their emotions. They keep avoiding, pretending not to care, but in reality, thoughts of you still linger beneath the surface. They are just not ready to face them yet. Stage 4. Complete suppression and seeking a new beginning. After a prolonged struggle between emotions and logic, dismissive avoidants often reach a decisive conclusion. They no longer want to face their emotions. Instead of continuing to waver between longing and denial, they choose to suppress everything entirely. To them, this is the only way to regain a sense of control and emotional stability. They convince themselves that everything is over and start focusing on the future. This may involve seeking a new relationship, whether consciously or unconsciously. Interestingly, they often find themselves drawn to someone who shares similarities with you, whether in appearance, personality, or the energy you once brought into their life. But rather than learning from past experiences, they unknowingly repeat familiar patterns, perpetuating their emotional cycle. One important thing to note is that avoidants do not react to no contact in the way you might expect. They do not immediately recognize your value or feel instant regret. Instead, they activate layers of defense mechanisms to avoid their emotions. It may take them a long time before they truly process what happened, and often, by the time they are ready, you may no longer be there. In summary, when they move on, it is not necessarily because they have forgotten you, but because they have never truly learned how to face their emotions. And this is precisely what keeps them stuck in a repetitive cycle of emotional patterns, whether they realize it or not. Stage 5. Nostalgia and the desire to reconnect. After a long period of time, or after several unfulfilling relationships, a dismissive avoidant may enter a completely new psychological state, nostalgia. The memories that once made them want to distance themselves from you begin to fade, giving way to the good moments you once shared. Arguments, disagreements, and feelings of being constrained no longer stand out in their mind. Instead, they remember the connection, the warmth, and the special things you brought into their life. This nostalgia often emerges when they are going through a period of loneliness or disappointment, perhaps after another relationship has ended, or when they realize that new people cannot fully replace the connection they once had with you. This is when they might unexpectedly return, sometimes in ways no one anticipates. They may quietly unblock you on social media, send a simple yet loaded message, or even approach you boldly, sometimes in a flirtatious or seductive manner. However, this does not necessarily mean they have changed or are truly ready for a healthy relationship. It is often driven by the emptiness within them, pushing them to seek something familiar. If you have ever received a message from a dismissive avoidant after months or even years, do not be surprised. They take a long time to process their emotions. However, the most important thing to understand is that the idea of reconnecting must come from them. If you reach out before they come to this realization on their own, they may quickly withdraw again because they are still not fully prepared to face their emotions in a mature way. Ironically, by the time a dismissive avoidant finally realizes your value, you may no longer care about them. After enduring so much pain, you have learned to let go, heal, and build a fulfilling life without them. You no longer wait for their message, nor do you check social media to see what they are doing, and in that very moment, when you have truly moved on, they reappear. This is not a coincidence. Dismissive avoidants tend to return when they feel that you are no longer a threat to their sense of freedom. When you are independent, self-sufficient, and no longer centering them in your life, they finally feel comfortable reaching out. But at this point, the real question is no longer, do they want to come back, but rather, do you still want them? So, if you are waiting for a dismissive avoidant to change, remember that this process does not happen quickly or in the way you might hope. Instead of placing your expectations on them, invest in yourself. When you become the strongest version of yourself, you will not only attract them, but also the kind of people who truly deserve you. And when they return, you will have the clarity to decide whether that door is still worth opening. A relationship with a dismissive avoidant always comes with complexity and paradox. From the moment of the breakup, they try to detach themselves from their emotions, convincing themselves that the relationship is not worth holding on to. They withdraw completely, burying themselves in work, personal pleasures, and even seeking new relationships to escape reality. But over time, the emotions buried in their subconscious gradually resurface, leading them through a cycle of suppression and nostalgia. It may take months or even years for them to realize that the beautiful memories shared between you are not easily forgotten. And by the time they are ready to face their true emotions, they may return, sometimes with more urgency and intensity than ever before. But ironically, when that happens, you may no longer be waiting for it. So what is the lesson here? If you are waiting for a dismissive avoidant to change or come back, understand that it is a long and unpredictable process. The most important thing is not to find ways to make them miss you or return, but to focus on yourself. When you learn to love yourself, heal, and build a fulfilling life without needing anyone else, you become the strongest version of yourself. And at that moment, you will have the power to decide, do they still deserve a place in your life? If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss future content on psychology and relationships. I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share your insights on this topic. Have you ever experienced this situation? Do you think a dismissive avoidance can truly change? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.